Good morning, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's your buddy Choppadong coming at you with another episode of Chop Talk, brought to you by the one, the only DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for everything DFS related, from content to tools to coaching to the optimizer to everything that you need to use to become a better player today. I encourage you to stop inside before prices go up. Use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, found in the bottom of the comment section of this video, and take a read around all of our coaches, all of our content, and decide if this is a place you want to be, because we are definitely sold out on helping you become a better player day in and day out. You can follow me out on Twitter with using Choppadong. You can find a whole bunch of us out there, to be quite honest with you. And what we're going to do today is jump in to the research station and break up this early game slate before we lock up here in about an hour, hour and a half or so. So hopefully this gets out to you fast enough and you can process the information and use some of it, because it's a little interesting slate. It's pretty wide open. When I go to where I usually go, the starting pitching matchups, I'm looking for a dominant pitcher, somebody on a smaller slate chalk to stack against. I don't see it. Castillo is the lead dog. Keuchel, Newcomb also in play. You can even use some Suter and Duffy, and that's going to mean Estrada is the forgotten man. But really and truly, Estrada's been good before. I just don't like tackling Houston with him. When I look over here at the DFS Army grade, nothing too dominant. Castillo's lead dog again. Keuchel's up there too. Keuchel's had his struggles, as we know, so that's not exactly a safe pick either. Newcomb drops off quite a bit. Duffy drops off quite a bit. Suter's been better than this indicates, but he is facing the Kansas City Royals, who don't tend to strike out much, so that's going to curb his upside a little bit. When we add these K scores together, we're going to find Castillo at a 455, Newcomb at a 447, and then Keuchel and Suter drop way off into the low 400s. So again, that's not great. But then when you look at Keuchel and Newcomb, or Keuchel and Suter, those guys carry the big Vegas favorites at the minus 190 and minus 200 on the slate. So they're a little bit safer pick to get those points for the win. I just think you need to weigh all of these things together, and when all of these categories come out kind of muddied and clustered, then you're running into more of a shotgun type of slate. You're running into more of a slate where people are going to be a little bit spread out. There's nothing overwhelmingly obvious that people are going to see and focus on. That also means when these pitchers are all okay, nothing way down below a 40, and, nothing too dominant, they can all be handled. So all of these bats are in play too. I don't like Kansas City bats typically, but Houston, Milwaukee, Cincinnati even. I don't Toronto because Keuchel struggled. Atlanta because they're hot. I mean, they're all in play. So what we're going to do is we're going to run over to the Trends tab, which is my favorite tool to use. We're going to take a quick peek at who we like. Milwaukee. There's three of those guys on the front page. Cincinnati. A lot of Cincinnati on the front page rated out really high. Interesting. 5 of them. Very, very intriguing. We're going to have to take a peek at them. I had Houston written down. I'm writing down Cincinnati right now. I know to look at Milwaukee, so if I knock those 3 guys out right now, there's Houston, of course, Toronto, a little bit of Toronto, no real Kansas City in there. So in Atlanta, I'm surprised is not a little bit higher rated, being as hot as they are. So let's start with Houston. Let's sort through, see what we've got this thing checked off at. I think it's 300 today, just because of the smaller slate, and I'm searching for subpar offenses on the main, so I left it at this for the express, or the early only slate, sorry. But look, with Houston, Altuve, Bregman, of course you saw what he did last night, Reddick, Marisnik, even Tony Kemp if he gets a start, Gurriel, and even, we got Marisnik in there. So, I mean, these are your core bats to build around, even though they're facing, a normally somewhat okay pitcher, and Estrada, I wouldn't consider him a complete gas can. These would be the names that I would be targeting and that I would be writing down if I were you. So these are kind of the things that we look for when we're trying to break down this slate and get an idea of where we really want to focus all of our energy. When I kick over to Cincinnati, I'm going to see another decent list. Again, Votto, Suarez, and I'd probably skip over Duvall, quite honestly. He's a boomer bust guy, and his WOBA damage isn't all that great right now. Schebler's picked it up a notch. Jeanette might be coming back. He was cold there for a while. No Peraza, no Casali, no Hamilton. A little bit of Winker maybe. He looks like he's on par. Barnhart would be interesting. He's fallen off this map, it looks like, completely too. But being that these guys are in a great spot and people don't necessarily gravitate towards Cincinnati, I wouldn't be surprised to see them a little bit higher owned than usual, but still not super chalky on this slate. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But that's just my guess, knowing that people tend to chase the brand names. There should be some Houston, maybe some Atlanta, something like that, sitting around on this particular slate. So Cincinnati might find themselves into a few of my early only lineups. When I look at Milwaukee, Braun, Aguilar are easy targets tonight or today. Manny Pena, if he gets a start, might be playable, but I would focus, more on the yellish types because I just don't like getting way under 350. That's not very far under 350, but it's just kind of a hard line number for me. Thames, because of his power, sure, I could play him. Brad Miller needs more at bats. So that might be a little bit of a stack there. Top four in that lineup last night did damage. That was your Aguilar, Braun, Yelich, Thames. They look to do the same thing again tonight. Maybe not rated that high, but they are swinging a hot bat. So this would be, just to show you, Toronto has some potential in it. When I look at some of these names and some of these WOBAs, Kansas City, I can't trust Kansas City on some of these small at-bat sizes in the low 300s and stuff. I can't routinely trust them. And then, of course, there are some bats in here, and you're not going to see a Freddie Freeman on this list right now, which is really intriguing to me. But that's kind of the idea of the 6 games or 3 games and the 6 teams that you had to pick from. But again, it's going to be a little bit more wide open, a little bit more scattershot, a little bit more of maybe even a cash game type build where you might take 2 from this team, 2 from this team, 2 from this team, 2 from this team, kind of spread yourselves out a little bit, and then hope that everybody else stacks and messes up because their stacks fall flat. But I can see the opportunity to do some stacking if you want to play in some bigger tournaments, bigger leagues. You're just going to have to hit right, and there's no obvious spot, glaringly obvious spot to really attack. There are some little bit lower owned places. I do think Cincinnati would be a good spot to start. But other than that, your pitchers are pretty mediocre, a little bit wide open. It looks like it'd be a good balanced ownership slate today for somebody to do some damage if they do get a little bit lucky and hit it right. So anyway, we'll wrap up the early edition of Chop Talk. Come inside later for our VIPs. We're going to get a deeper breakdown of the main slate, maybe some of the other express slates, things like that today. We're going to push that out to those guys. For those of you out there in public, thank you for following me as always. Click the link at the bottom of the description. And of course, come inside for the main slate. Become a VIP. There's time if you do it today and you act quickly. There's time to jump in there and get the information for the main slate today. So we're under 10 minutes. World record for me, long-winded guy. Take care, guys. Follow me out on Twitter. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you next time.